lessons from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel less a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in of February 24, 2021, and the stock market had one of its worst days since March, at least for some of the growth in momentum stocks. Today was crazy. I even said the word circuit breaker at one point. The market's gapped down pretty big at the open, and I think we touched almost as much as like 4% at one point on the NASDAQ. The S&P dropped a lot. It wasn't as bad, but you could see here on the NASDAQ, this has been a consecutive day losing streak. We thought yesterday was bad. It keeps getting worse. But Jerome Powell ended up saving the day today. We are going to hear from him tomorrow, so it is going to be important, even the digestion of it all. The market started bouncing right before he got on, and then he kind of carried the day. It came back a little bit. We had a really wide trading range, and then the market just ended up closing green. The NASDAQ was even green right before close, but it ended up closing 0.5%. So we have a lot to talk about. We got a lot of plays to go over. We made a couple of plays, but even with all of the movements that we saw, it is pointing to some bright spots and safe havens like Snap. But we got that, and then everything for the rest of the week and what to watch for, even for the rest of the month. Today shows some signs of volatility, so I hope you're ready. But let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life, and yes, if you want somewhere to be where you could smile on a down day and then get questioned about your loyalty and history to Jerome Powell, then yeah, we're the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, today was the worst day for some stocks. Not all of them. You still saw the rotation today. The Dow Jones was positive, and like I said earlier, there was a lot of key winners today. So it was mainly those heavily shorted stocks, the momentum stocks, a lot of those big running names that you have seen go crazy or parabolic, everything from Tesla to even NEO. We made a play on that too. So a lot of stocks were really down today. So our portfolio was even down $12,000 on the Robinhood one. This one has stocks and options, but I only had like 2 or 3 stocks that ended up green out of all of these, but everything was down a ton. So even some of the value rotations started dropping too, and we're going to talk about that, but it was actually surprising how much some things were dropping. So a lot of people were shocked in the morning, but then like I showed you in the beginning, Powell came on and he really did save the day, and he did it by saying the same thing. I would even call this a play out of his playbook, because essentially he's just holding to what he said. It gives confidence if you think about it. But the best example that I gave today, the market pretty much has a hernia with all of these rates and everything going on. This one's really personal. But Powell is essentially saying he does not feel any symptoms, and he's not really having too much pain yet, or if any at all, and he will communicate effectively when he thinks there needs to be surgery. So the market liked that. He stood by what he was always saying. Nothing was contradicting, and he didn't come off as complacent. A lot of people had different opinions, but at the end of the day, it really did calm stocks, because we sold off very fast and big. At one point, even the NASDAQ, we were down about 8% since the highs about a week and a half ago. So that's like its own mini correction. The dip didn't last long, and now we need to see how this plays out over the next coming days, and we know what to watch. And now even to tomorrow, you're going to get more Powell, so he could still drop the ball. We'll see what else he says. However, it does look like the situation is under control given the response we saw today. That was a crazy run up that we had. So if that continues into tomorrow, or we see more relaxation out of stocks, or even some of the stocks that were really sold off, then maybe we could see a little bit of relief, or at least no more red, because again, every single day for the last 6 days or 5 days, it has continuously sold off. So it really just depends on the pressure, but it's not like this is really news related. So it is going to be dependent on the policy, these talks, and then again, how the market will react to that. It is a very weird chicken versus the egg scenario. So there was that. We also had home prices today. The numbers came in record highs for the increase year over year. It was like 14% or something. And then we even have more economic data this week. You're going to get the GDP report, but the market just doesn't really care right now, because even that home sales data, the market just sold off instantly in the morning. It really looked like Powell was the only factor, and then that's what we're going to be looking out for tomorrow. And then finally, since this is the end of February and the market is acting a little bit weird, it's getting volatile after we saw today. A lot of people keep saying, is the market going to crash? I really don't know. The only downside or real negative random thing that I could see happening at this point would be that the stimulus isn't in the bag. So you even saw Workhorse today. They got bad news. They dropped a lot, and the market was very optimistic as to what it was pricing in. So at this point, virus numbers are still going down. You're kind of seeing, and what we talked about, virus number comes down, Wall Street may not like it, but if that stimulus doesn't really get passed soon and these numbers keep dropping, and we even see here, if the government takes kind of an approach that Powell does, we'll see what happens, but that's the only black swan I could really foresee here. Otherwise, we need to see if Powell hopefully saved the day and then what that leads to coming into this next quarter. So it's going to be exciting, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I have a couple different plays that I want to look at. Two of them I already made today. One of them I haven't, and I like this play just with how it moved, and this is just one big tip I could give this week, especially with any volatility. Pay attention to the winners and losers, even a broader market sell-off, or if you are noticing a rotation. So this is where the first play comes into. This is McDonald's. Just with how they performed, it looks like they either want to die or lead the way. So this morning they were up. Even Home Depot had earnings. Home Depot sold off, but they were actually holding up. They didn't gap down. You could see how stable it was this morning. It shot up and then it slowly started to give back with everything. And surprisingly, it didn't bounce back up and close green. But now you pull it out on the daily, take a look at them over the last few months. I mean, it looks very interesting. This is where I'm saying it either really wants to die at this point, and if volatility or any big rotations or big movements come in, it's going to move. We even played that a little bit during the GameStop stuff, if you remember. So it either wants to die or it's holding up and it might get ready to lead the way in terms of a value rotation. This is where we kind of want to wait and see, but that's how I'm going to be viewing McDonald's, and that one traded very interesting today, and I want to look at stocks like that because that is just going to be a key factor this week, so watch them. The next play is going to be Bank of America, and now I bought this trade today. I got a short term, and I played it just in case the market spilled over. So we were down a lot, that 4% on the NASDAQ in that first 30 minutes. That is a very, very sizable move. Again, I was looking at McDonald's, it was green, and then that started to go red, and then you started to see that spillover effect. That is what you want to pay attention for when I'm saying a broad winner or a rotation. You start to see broad market go down where everything starts to sell off. It starts to affect everything and everything gets sold off, as opposed to this rotation where you're seeing certain bright spots. Airlines did good again. Travel stocks did good like Wynn and all that. So that's more of a rotation as opposed to a broader market sell-off affecting an industry or just all of the markets in general. So that is why I got the Bank of America plays this morning. I grabbed them in the morning. I grabbed 10 of the 32 puts for next week for 7 cents. I think they're about like 6 cents on the ask, 5 on the bid right now. They really just didn't do much. But the idea here with that, you could see they've been leading the way. We've been talking about this rotation. You've seen how they performed this year, but I was assuming that it would start getting drawn down with everything, but it didn't. It bounced even bigger than the S&P and then came down and leveled off. So if everything really did sell off and it wasn't rotation, I'd want to look to some of those companies that led the way. There just might be cheaper options or more juice on the bones or opportunity to surprise. So there's that. And then finally, the last play, I actually bought these today, but NEO. So I bought into the downside this morning. So right when the market was down, I grabbed those. So they had a little bit more premium because I'm already down on that play. NEO ended up bouncing. So I'm going to be watching that. I like this play, but especially after watching Workhorse and seeing them get affected and seeing some of the weaker links and then even watching Tesla, I thought this one would be a decent play. So I grabbed that same contract. It was a little bit more expensive. That's why I want to keep looking at it, but I did spend a decent amount. I grabbed 20 of the $10 puts for January 2022, and I spent 63 cents, so $1,200 total. I already had that one position I showed you guys yesterday that was worth like 600. Those came up a little bit, but again, I bought the premium, so I'm already down 15%. So instead of averaging down on this play or even monitoring this, if I did want to keep playing NEO, my goal is to get closer to the strike price as possible, because that other play I had was a $12 put. There was just a lot more premium here today, so I didn't want to pay too much. So I like that one, again, related just in general with what we're seeing with these markets and those specific stocks that really got affected today. It has been these high flyers. Again, why I even feel that way about NEO, it reminds me of Workhorse. NEO was a $2, $5 stock. That's when I bought it the first time. Workhorse was a $1 stock, so that's what's going to be key. But those are going to be the main plays. As far as everything else, watch Snapchat. This one might just be good to trade, but they were the real bright spot today. They're up 12% and they're at $70 a share, a little bit higher than that. But they had an investor meeting and they said they pretty much forecast 50% revenue growth for consecutive years moving forward. So that was really, really good. It sent the stock up. It was a real bright spot. That's what really saved us with that portfolio. We have those leaps in shares. Everything did its thing. OSK was a real winner. It had some follow through. Even then, this is 15% and they're a pretty big company. So this was a wild move. The options were already crazy and it kept going crazy. So watch this tomorrow. Even watch this one coming into Friday. But this was the company that got the USPS award that dropped Workhorse. So if you didn't see Workhorse, this one was just ugly, down 51%. Remember, a couple days ago, this thing was worth $40 a share. And if you guys remember, we had that covered call lesson position. I bought these shares for $1 way back in the day, and we've sold covered calls on this before. You remember we went through that, so I'm still up on the overall position, which is like good and bad because it got clapped today. But if you guys remember this play here, we did a covered call, meaning we shorted the $60 call for July, and we agreed to sell somebody 100 shares of Workhorse for $60 a share, and they paid us $880. Now, this stock has dropped a lot. Some of you would be like, why would anybody pay that? Well, remember a couple days ago when we showed this stock was at $40 after just jumping from $20. People are saying this is going to keep going. They were willing to pay for a contract with time. So I own the shares. The stock was at 40. I would agree to sell it at 60, but now you see how it's in a win-win position. I still have those 100 shares. I'm still overall up on them. And even though I lost some of that value from the shares going down today, this helped pad the loss with that cover call. But this was the icing on the cake today as far as the drama, because this was just a huge move. So watch them. Overall, I would just be careful with it. A lot of people are saying there's still money left on the contract, this and that. Just move with caution and understand the options are going to be extremely expensive. You're probably better off trading the shares, and you could see how wacky the options were with that last covered call play. But overall, be careful. I'm still holding those shares, but you could see why, because I have that covered call play. So watch them. Watch AAL. They did good today. I don't think the contracts went up. I think they got clapped a little bit, or no, they went up another 5%, so it wasn't too bad. So still holding those. There was other real big winners in the travel space. One of those that I'd want to see is Wynn. They really shot up. They have a lot more upside. They're getting above that 2020 level, so they're outpacing a little bit more than some of the other peers, but we've seen casino stocks and all these go crazy, so that could be a good one to watch. I like them. Apple, I'm going to watch as the leader. They still closed red today, but they kind of led the NASDAQ a little bit, but watch again, that down streak was very gnarly on the daily. We keep talking about this, but might even look to them to sell premium, or even just look for them as a general barometer to kind of how the rotation and everything is going. So watch them. Watch AMC. They reacted very positively to the news, so even in the midst of everything, they still closed up 12%. So that's telling you a little bit about how the market might take some of this reopening news. So watch them. Watch the banks, like we said. Watch Arlo. This was just the only other stock I was up on. They had earnings today. We're still holding those shares, but want to watch them coming into this week, just because any of these bright spots, I want to pay attention to them, especially if you see everything bounce. See if these companies go down or if they get a little bit extra turbo. So watch them. Watch Abivai. This is one of those that did good yesterday but didn't do good today, so I want to see them and pay attention to where they fall in the mix of everything. Neo, like we said, I just really don't like it. McDonald's, HD, our leaps dropped, but we're still overall up. They had earnings. The earnings was good, but they got clapped with everything. Big volume, so watch for the continuation on this one. I think it's going to be big. You could just look at this chart here, so kind of gives off some of those McDonald's vibes, so watch how that one plays out. I think that's going to be interesting. And then finally, Ford. I like how it held up. Again, I want to look at this thing for shares, if anything, but any of these companies plateauing and getting ready to lead or die, these are the ones catching my attention, so keep watching those. And then finally, TLT did not move much today. It kept going down, and it was bad in the morning, but pretty much TLT led the market. TLT gapped down a little bit, started to move inverse as the market was going down, and eventually it moved a lot less than the market, and the market ended up slightly outpacing. So I'm kind of seeing TLT as a market leader here in the short term as it's starting to enter this down mode, so keep an eye out for that. But everything was pretty chill besides that, or at least when Powell came on. The dollar dropped a little bit more today, but it kind of held up, and this was all good and bad today because things slowed down and it could plateau, but you didn't really get a forceful move in the opposite direction. So we're just still at square one. Maybe we're at first base going into second base. It depends what Powell says tomorrow, so I hope you're ready and I hope you're watching. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. If you want to sit in the chair, baby, you got to ask what's in the cup, but you got the grace head. The cold loves you. I love you. I'll see you in the morning. Let's go.